In this video, I will explain how to answer the summary completion question in the IELTS reading exam. So, let's begin. Hi there, this is Mr. Brick from IELTS Mr. Brick, and on this channel we cover everything IELTS related. That includes tips, tricks and tutorials. So if this is something that you're interested in, consider subscribing. Now this is a video that I wish I had if I were taking the IELTS reading exam. So the video will explain everything you need to know in 4 simple stages. Stage 1, the explanation. I will explain to you what summary questions are and what is expected from you. I will then give you key tips which you can use to answer this question. After that, I will explain the exact strategy you can use to answer the summary completion question. And finally, we will answer this question together using our strategy. Now, let's go straight to section 1. What does summary actually mean? A summary is basically a brief statement that summarizes something. In this case, that something is a text. Now, for this type of question, you will be given 2 things. Firstly, you will be given a text, and you will also be given a short summary which you will have to use to fill in. However, in the summary, there will be a few gaps. Your task is to fill in those gaps with the correct word or the correct words, plural. However, sometimes you may also be given a word bank. Now this word bank will include a list of words, and your job will be to pick the correct words from this word bank to fill in the gaps in the summary. Now if there's no word bank, then your task here is to find the correct words from the text. Now, here are some amazing tips that you can use to answer this question. The answers are usually in the same order in the text as they are in the summary. So, for example, if you are on the first question, the chances are that you will find this answer usually within the first few paragraphs. Having said that, if you're on the final question, again, the chances are that you will find this answer towards the end of the text. Now, the second tip is to familiarize yourself with synonyms. Now, I have made a few videos on this topic, and I will leave them in the description below and the card above. Now, when you're finding the answers from the word bank, the chances are that these words will not be the exact same words as they were in the text. So just keep synonyms in the back of your mind when you're answering this question. Now, tip number 3. Just like I explained in my last video, the matching headings video, there will be more words than there are gaps. That means that by the time you finish this question, you will have some words that are left over. These words will basically not be used. So a good tip here is just to eliminate any words that you are 100% sure are the incorrect answers. Sometimes you can tell straight away by looking at some of the words in the word bank which is the incorrect answer. For example, there might be a word from the word bank that starts with a capital letter. However, you know that none of the answers should start with a capital letter, maybe because they are in the middle of a sentence. Again, that was just an example to show you that sometimes you can eliminate the incorrect answers straight away. Now, the next tip can also be applied for your IELTS writing exam, and that is to just double check your answers once you have finished, just to see if they are all grammatically correct. If they are not grammatically correct, then the answer is wrong. This is an excellent tip that you can use just to double check your answers. Now the next tip is to read the instructions carefully, especially for this type of question, because a lot of the times the questions are worded in the following way: write no more than 2 words. That means that you can write 1 word as the answer, you can write 2 words as the answer, but you cannot write 3 or more than 3. Also, be careful because the instructions can sometimes state write no more than 3 words. Let's now move on to section 3, where we will look at how to answer this question. So there's about 8 steps which you will have to follow in the following way. So the first step is to read the instructions. As I've just mentioned, does the instructions state that you need to write no more than 2 words? Does it say no more than 3 words? Also, is there a word bank? Is there not a word bank? You need to check this in the instructions by reading them very carefully. Now, the second step is to skim read the text. When you're reading the text, your intention should be just to get a general idea of what the text is about. Once you've done this, your next step should be to read the summary, but whilst you're reading the summary, also try to predict what the answer might be. For example, is the answer a noun? Is it an adjective? Is it a pronoun? Try to just figure out whilst reading the summary. This will give you a better idea of what to look for when you're searching for the answer. Now, step 4 here, the summary will usually relate to just one part of the text. That part of the text is usually around 2 or 3 paragraphs. Now, your aim here should be to try to identify which part of the text the questions relate to. Now, you can do this by finding key words from the summary and trying to find their synonyms in the text. Now, if you don't know how to identify a keyword, a good idea is to just look out for any names, any dates, any places, or any other things that you think are relevant. Okay, by now you should have found which part of the text the questions relate to. So once you've found this part of the text, you can now read this part in detail. Now, when you're reading this in detail, you're trying to search for and pinpoint the correct answers. So just keep that in mind. Now, once you've written down at least one answer, what you want to do is just go back and see if this sentence makes sense. You can do this by just checking if it is grammatically sound. And that leads us on to the final step, which is just to repeat this whole process for the remainder of the questions. Now we're moving on to section 4. So here I will take you to my screen and we will look at a sample question together and try to answer it. This question is from a past IELTS reading test paper. I will show you the text on the next slide. I actually saw another IELTS YouTuber use this text a while ago and decided to use the same one. If I find the teacher who used it, I will link their channel in the description. Now, let's get started. So here is the question and here is the text. The text is a small portion of the whole text. What you see in front of you is only the part of the text that has been summarized. In the actual exam, the test will be much longer than this. Now, this is how I would answer the question. First, I would read the instructions and identify that this is a summary completion task. Also, I'll make a mental note that this question states to pick no more than 2 words. So, when I look for my answer, this will give me a big hint that the answer is either 1 word or 2 words. It will not be 3 or more words. Also, because it's a summary completion question, I will see if there is a word bank where I can pick out my answers from. As you can see on the screen, there is no word bank here, so I know that the answers can only be found in the text. So now that I have read the instructions, I will now read the summary and just highlight a few key words. This will help me when I scan the text to identify the answers from the text. Note that I said scan the text and not read the text. This means that I will just have a quick look at the text with my main objective being to find these keywords or words related to these keywords. Now, the keywords that I select are do-it-yourself products and lawyers. I have highlighted these on the screen for you. Once I've highlighted the keywords, the next thing I will do is read the first sentence of the summary and investigate what the answer could be. Well, by reading the first sentence, consumers often complain that they experience a feeling of something. I know that the answer is a type of feeling. If we want to take things one step further, we can even predict what type of feeling we are searching for. As the text says, consumers often complain that they experience a certain type of feeling when putting together do-it-yourself products. We know that the feeling we are searching for is a negative one. This can be shown by the word complain. When people complain, they don't usually feel happy. Also, from my experience, I know that assembling do-it-yourself products can make me feel extremely annoyed. So I'm going to see if I can find the word annoyed or a synonym of this word. So now I will go back to the text, search for the keywords, and also, more specifically, search for a type of feeling. Now, I find the keyword do it yourself, so you can see it on your screen now, and surprise, surprise. Right next to it, I find the feeling frustrated, which just so happens to be a synonym of annoyed. I have now found the first answer. Now, let's go back to the summary to repeat the process and find the second answer. So, the second answer is still in the first sentence. So, I will highlight keywords surrounding the answer. So, in this case, I decide to highlight the terms have not been tested. Also, I investigate further and realize that the answer is a noun. I know this because the missing word has the article a in front of it. The article a tells us that the answer is a singular noun and not a plural. So now all I have to do is read the text. So let me just show this to you now. So here's the text, and now we will just search for the term have not been tested or any other similar word. I find the word test, as you can see on your screen, and this is in the second sentence. So now I know to just zoom in and read this sentence in a bit more detail. We are now getting closer to finding the answer. I reread the second sentence, which states few companies seem to test their instructions by having them followed by a first-time user. I think I have found the correct answer, but let's just check. So the term I'm looking at here is first-time buyer. All I need to do now is to just check if it makes grammatical sense. So let's check. Consumers often complain that they experience a feeling of frustration when trying to put together do-it-yourself products which have not been tested by companies on a first-time buyer. This makes perfect sense. There you go. We have now found the second answer. Now, by this stage, I hope you have a better understanding of how to answer this question. So, what I would like you to do is try to find the rest of the answers and post them in the comment section below. I will leave the correct answers in the comment section and I will pin it to the top so you can double check if you answered this question correctly. If you found that video beneficial, if you did, please hit that like button and leave a comment below, because if you do, YouTube will share this video with more people. Also, if you benefited from this video, you might want to check out this playlist on the screen, which includes tutorials on how to answer other questions from the IELTS reading exam. Thanks for watching and I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.